Houston Pro Stock Drag Racing. Former champ Darrell Alderman is back, and he is hungry.
It's real exciting to be back, especially with Wayne County Speed Shop and Mopar as our sponsor.
Scott Geoffrion, the Dodge standard bearer, is justifiably excited about off-season progress.
From Mopar and the guys from Wayne County, I'll tell you, they've been working so hard over this winter, and we've been putting some good mile an hour up on the scoreboard this weekend. We're enjoying it, I'll tell you.
But wait, what about the Johnsons and their legendary horsepower? Son Kurt is confident.
Oh, they're going to have a problem with the Oldsmobiles, I believe.
1992 and 93 Winston champion Warren Johnson is a realist. Or is he?
Got to do whatever you have to do to win these things.
What about Darrell Alderman?
Who?
Darrell Alderman. At the first race of the season, it was as scripted. Dodge and Oldsmobile, Darrell and Warren taking a win. But wait, 2 weeks ago in Phoenix, Alderman dusts Kurt in the semis and heads for a second final.
Would you like a little revenge on Warren Johnson 2 weeks ago?
I tell you what I'd like. I'd like for Scott Geoffrion to win this next round and it did an all-Mopar final.
Can wishes come true? Not according to Warren.
I never heard of a dreaded Dodge. It's dreaded Oldsmobiles.
You're going to handle him?
Probably.
Not so fast.
There's one of these deals. This particular track seems to be favoring the bow-tie Chryslers over there. We lost, but there's a whole bunch more races left.
Talk about wishes coming true, an all-Dodge final. Scott won it, and in doing so launched another salvo in the Pro Stock war. The third stop of the 18-event, $19 million Winston Championship Tour. Welcome, everyone, to coverage of the professional classes from the 7th Annual Slick 50 Nationals presented by Western Auto from Houston Raceway Park near Houston, Texas. It is an absolutely incredible race day here at Houston Raceway Park, and the weather has allowed tens of thousands of fans to jam the pit area. Boy, are they having a good time. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave McClellan, and I'll tell you, we did not get the performance in Pro Stock we anticipated. No 6-second elapsed time, but we did get the quickest field in the history of the sport with a bump spot of 7.154 seconds. In Top Fuel, we have a new national record working for elapsed time, and there's been lots of entertainment in Funny Car as well. For more on the story in Pro Stock, here's my good pal, Steve Evans.
Dave, the days of the fans really whooping it up for Pro Stock are back. Only it's not Fords and Chevys they're cheering for now. It's Dodges and Oldsmobiles. And here in Houston, we saw a repeat of Phoenix in qualifying with the Dodges on top. Geoffrey on number 1, followed by Alderman. The Johnson family in the 3rd and 4th spot, Warren and his son Kurt, respectively. They also, as you can see, occupy the top 4 spots in the Winston points list. Now, here's the deal. In a few minutes, they run round number 2. If they all 4 survive it, they meet head-to-head Dodge versus Oldsmobile in the semifinals. Earlier today, right after round 1, I talked to all 4 players in this drama.
Here, we're running right with them. In fact, I had low ET first round here, so we're looking real good. We had the top speed of the first round, so I think both cars are operating probably on an equal playing field here. They've got a lot more power than they had last year, and it's just up to us to work on some of that for ourselves.
Nothing personal.
No. Well, there's 2 operations out there that are making a little bit more power than the other cars, and it's 2 Jeeps and 2 excellent Oldsmobiles. Everybody know what X stands for. Yeah. But now we're lucky enough to have our chassis combination figured out, able to apply the power to the racetrack, so we're just a little bit ahead of everybody else.
Coming back after 2 years, was there any driver you wanted to beat more than Warren Johnson?
I really wanted to prove that, you know, we could still run with Warren. Yeah, I'd have to say Warren Johnson was one I'd like to beat, but I like to beat anybody that's in the other lane.
We're just out there racing the racetrack. We're not racing the Johnsons.
You worked for Warren at one time.
I sure did, but that was a long time ago, and I've forgotten about it.
Dave, I'm going to play PA announcer of old. How many of you want the Oldsmobiles to win? Yeah! How many for Dodge? Yeah! Here's Bob Fry with a story on the Nitro classes.
Steve, I guess from the results of your informal poll, we ought to rename Houston Dodge City. Well, let me tell you, the big news in the fuel pit area is this car right here, and the driver, Scott Coletta. Earlier today in round number 1, Scott ran the quickest elapsed time in the history of drag racing when he put down a 4.72 to win in the first round of competition.
Awesome. Dick told me it was going to do that yesterday, and it went out there and smoked the tires in about half track, and I had to use a little bit of brake, and then it burned up, and 72, it's awesome. I told him, he asked me what I wanted to run in Houston, what we thought it would take, and I said, well, between 72 and 74. He said, okay, that's what I thought too. Hopefully we can keep it up.
I'll be down on the starting line a little bit later on today talking to the crew chiefs, but right now, let's go talk to the guy that's making Scott Coletta's car run those big numbers. This is Dick LaHaye. Dick, you've got one leg up on the national record. Are you thinking record or thinking win the race?
Well, we always think about winning the race, but you got to take it one round at a time. And that's our main objective right now, is to just win the next round. And these cars are running on such a fine line that anything can happen. You know, if an ant crawled across the track and you run over it, it could spin the tires. So, you know, it would just be, you know, devastating to do this, but, you know, we just have to keep it running as quick as we can.
If you run over that ant, you're going to get over him in a hurry, aren't you?
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Won't be a good day for the ant. Might not be a good day for the rest of the cars in Top Fuel either.
You're absolutely right, Bob. The Scott and Dick team has come on strong. The 1994 NHRA Slick 50 Nationals presented by Western Auto is being brought to you by new advanced high-tech formula Quaker State Motor Oil. It's formulated for today's high-tech engines. And by Allied Signals Autolite Spark Plugs. Guaranteed for 2 years, no matter how far you go. Here come Kurt Johnson and Ricky Smith. It's almost time for Pro Stock round number 2 when we come back. Back at Houston Raceway Park, you're looking at the spinning tire of Kurt Johnson. And here is his opponent, Ricky Smith, in the Slick 50 Pontiac. It was quite a battle in round number 1 when Smith pulled off the upset of the round, defeating Bob Glidden in the Ford Thunderbird. Kurt Johnson qualified number 4 at a great 7:10 and defeated Bruce Allen in the Chevrolet in his first round matchup. He ran a 7:17. Smith had qualified with a 7:14, good for 12th. He also ran 7:17 to beat Glidden in the first round, almost equal as they approach the starting line here. Ricky Smith, noted for great reaction times. Kurt Johnson, of course, finishing second to his dad last season in the Winston Points chase, regarded by many as one of the true rising stars of professional drag racing. Well, both drivers just sitting in the pre-stage beams. Nobody has moved forward yet. Who's going to break first? Finally, they start to creep into the beams. Kurt's there. Ricky Smith taking his time. He makes it. Ricky Smith got the advantage at the starting line. Kurt Johnson was able to pull it out on performance. A 7:12, 193-mile-an-hour run, a losing 7:18 for Smith, but he did get the advantage off the starting line the whole shot. The next pair, it is the Oldsmobile versus Dodge battle continuing, but this time it is Larry Morgan at the wheel of the Castrol Super Clean Cutlass against Darrell Alderman. The lane choice here going to Alderman. Now let's go down to the far end of the racetrack and join Steve.
When you race Ricky Smith, you have to be ready for anything on the starting line, and you were.
Yeah, I knew that he wanted to come in there last. He came in there against Bob. He took 6 seconds, and they should have thrown a switch on him. I guess they lost count up there somehow.
Guess what? Now you get one of those Jeeps, as you like to call them.
One of them Jeeps. I'm just glad to be in the semifinals. You know, we haven't missed a semifinal since Seattle last year. My crew, Bill Smith and Pat Baird, they're doing an excellent job on this Cumberland Motorsports Oldsmobile.
Keep it up.
Kurt Johnson headed into the semifinal round of competition, while back at the starting line, Darrell Alderman brings one of those Dodges, or Jeep, as the Johnsons like to refer to them. Of course, there isn't much off-roading going on here, just covering a quarter of a mile as quickly as possible. Alderman has the lane choice based on a 7:13 in the first round. Larry Morgan ran a 7:20 when he defeated George Marnell. The quicker qualified car, though, is Alderman. He was number 2 at a 7:06. But the book here is he shook the tires violently against Tim Jost in the first round. They have changed wheel sizes in trying to get a hold of the pavement. Let's see if it works. Morgan all over the racetrack. He is forced to shut it down while Darrell Alderman runs low ET of eliminations. A 7:07 at 195.5 miles an hour.